Good morning, everybody. Orin J here with another War of the Visions video, and Esther has arrived in the global version of the game. We can finally look at her whole kit, see exactly what she's supposed to do, talk about the potential pitfalls, the potential, big wins that you're going to get with her, and she's been out for an hour, and I've already seen like so many opinions that are all the way from like, her kit's pretty bad to, oh my god, she's insane. And she has elements of both of that kind of. Let's look at it though, and I want to start by comparing her to her biggest obvious comparison, and that's going to be Cloud. And here is probably Esther's strongest suit. She is a humongous ball of stats. Like, her stat page is crazy. 4,700 HP, 572 attack, 68 agility. Like, comparing that to Cloud, she's well north of him in both attack and HP, and her agility is 68. Both of them are very, very fast. She also has more dex than him, the same amount of luck. She brings some defense to the table, he brings none. Her physical resist, slashing 25, piercing 25, striking 15, missile resist 10, with a minus 15 to magic. Like, clearly this chick is supposed to come out here and just deal with physical units, and she has the raw stat pool to do it. And looking at her side by side with Cloud, it's pretty easy to say she has a better raw statistical page than Cloud does. But that's not why Cloud is so good. Cloud is good because of what his kit does. All the things that he brings. Does Esther bring that level of strength and utility to your team? Well, the only way to find out is to look, and we're going to start by looking at her TMR, the Storm Bunny Hood. I don't think this is super good. It does have 6 agility. That's the highlight of this item in my opinion. 6 agility is like 1 more than the average agility TMR for a UR is. The buff is a defense debuff resistance buff and a critical hit rate buff. Very situational. I don't think you would pull Esther for her TMR in any situation. I don't think that's super good, but let's get to the skills. Let's talk about what her kit actually is, right? Support abilities. She shines right here. Her support abilities are very nice. Ball Lightning Barrier is 20 defense, again, further enhancing her ability to be an anti-physical unit with 40 defense pin, and then magic resistance -8. So, clearly, she is meant to be anti-physical, high damage, bad against mages. Boom. I think you run this almost all the time. This is really good. Then Holy Knight's Protection if you want to go even further into anti-physical. I think most of the time you'll probably run Thief Lore for move 1 and an agility steroid. Make her even faster, allow her to close the gap on a map even better. And you'll see when we get into her kit, she's going to be really, really good if she can get in a unit's face. A lot of her abilities are very close range. A lot of her better abilities are. You'll see in a second. Then she also has acquired AP up, which is situationally decent for like certain PvE. Now, her counter abilities. This is where Cloud laps her. Like, she has okay counter abilities, whereas Cloud has the best one in the game. She has Static Discharge and Paladin's Guard, which are interestingly the exact same ability. They both have a 20% chance to reduce physical damage by 45. It is a very good counter ability against full physical teams, and you'll probably just run this almost all the time because her only other one is Quick Action, which is a 20% chance to give yourself a 40% agility buff for only 1 turn. So I do think you can just pick between Static Discharge and Paladin's Guard, obviously only level 1 of them up, and then just run that all the time. But in this situation, Cloud is significantly better than Esther is. But here we go. What about damage? What about her damaging moves? That's the most interesting part. Okay, so Bolting Impact. This is going to be her auto attack replacement move, right? Really cheap at 14 AP, 6 uses. Range is a little short at only 3. It's 126 damage percent and decreases the attack of the target by 43%. Note that she scales purely off of attack. So you want to just build that attack stat up on her as high as you can. That's going to contribute to her damage, whereas some other units get, agility contributes some, dex contributes some. Her job, pure attack all the way. Okay, now we're going to get to a TP ability next, and here's where I think people are going to start running into problems when they're trying to play Esther. She has a lot of very, very good buffs. In fact, she has so many that you might have trouble getting her to use all the ones you want. You're going to have to pick and choose here. We're going to start with Overcharged Physique that upgrades to Storm Guardian. This is a Pierce Resistance buff plus 20%, a Strike Resistance buff plus 20%, a Missile Resistance buff plus 20%, and an Accuracy buff plus 30. That accuracy plus 30 is a really critical part here. You get that from the EX upgrade, and she does not have a 100% move in her kit. That's not true. She technically does. It's in her Thief sub. We'll get there in a minute. But she's very limited, very extremely limited in what she can do as far as 100% hit moves. So think of her accuracy in kind of terms of like an Ibarra unit, where she has an accuracy steroid here with this buff, and then she has another move that further buffs her accuracy that you'll see in a minute. This is a great move. A great move. It's a self-only buff, but all these resist, all that accuracy, you're going to want to use this particularly against evasion teams. Now, Bolting Slice, here's her next move. This has a really cool giant square AoE attack, right? 4 directions, big square, takes some damage. Reduces counter chance by 100, so no reflex, no Aeon Bond if you use this move. 165% modifier is pretty good, and it further increases her defense for 3 turns. So this leans into her ability, her willingness, her desire to get up in the face of physical damage units and just start trading into them. Give herself more defense, do damage to them, turn off their counter abilities for 3 turns. Really strong move. Bolting Slice is cool, and it probably looks really cool in the game, I just imagine. Okay, Magnetic Force. This is her TP buff that they previewed in the video. It gives her a shield that reduces physical damage by 50% for 3 times. Then, in this AoE right here, it buffs AoE resist of her allies by 15 for 3 turns. This is another strong move, especially since she can give AoE resistance to her group. Lightning, all elements have access through Demon Wall, or Death Machine, to AoE resistance vision cards. So you can further stack that up, and it's a type of damage resistance that there is not penetration to in the game. That makes this pretty strong, but we've already got 2 good TP moves, and there's more to come. Okay, Bolting Strike that upgrades to Stormbrand is the next one we're going to look at here. Decrease single target resist 20 for 3 turns. That immediately clues me in that this is going to be a phenomenal PvE skill. Decreasing single target resist on a guild raid boss is massive for building up those max damage chains, especially in a trust stone environment that we live in now. Range on this, a little short again, only 2 range, but range height 2, 4 uses, and is pretty cheap at 24 AP. Damage modifier on this, 165%. This is also the move that gives her the plus chance to hit. Now, you combine that with the 30 accuracy that you're getting up here from Storm Guardian. Here's 30 more from Stormbrand. And so you can get some accuracy from her moves. But again, notice this is a very short range skill. That if going against evasion units, her range is going to be a factor, right? But it does give her a high accuracy move. So if you build some other accuracy on her, run her accuracy buff, this move should, in theory, hit evasion targets if you can stack enough. Now, her job level 25 ability is Surging Storm. This is a barrier break, so breaks physical barrier for the target. Another 165% modifier. Increases debuff resistance 30 for 3 turns when performing a critical hit. So she'll get debuff resistance here. Again, I don't value that super high, but it does break barriers, so the AI will use this if the enemy has a barrier up. Note all of her 165% modifier moves. Basically, all of her attacks right here hit equally as hard as the rest of them. The big differences are, this one's a big AoE, so if multiple people are together, the AI will prefer to use that. This one does a single target resist debuff, so it will do more damage than the rest unless they have a physical barrier, in which case Surging Storm will probably be better. So that's how the AI is going to work those 3 skills. AoE move, single target resist is going to be your highest hitter on a 1 target unless they have a barrier, in which case the barrier breaker move will come in. Boom, that's how the AI works in this game. It goes by most damage. If you run her in her Precursor sub, you get access to 2 more AP moves. One of them decreases critical evasion for the target, then again, 165% modifier damage, also though at a short range. The AI using this is going to be, I don't know how it works exactly with critical evasion down. It might choose to do this if the crit would give her more damage and the AI is that smart. I honestly don't know. Then you have Chain Lightning. This is an AoE move. Finally, a little bit of a ranged AoE move that gets to range 4. Also has a chance of inflicting confusion. So that's pretty good. And it gives you a couple more attacks in her kit. Also, these scale only with attack. Now, we get to the Paladin sub. Here's where talking about TP skills gets interesting, because as soon as I see Paladin, I look straight for Immortal Spirit, and sure enough, she has it. So, she gets access to the Courage buff. This is a big deal. But now we're talking about having 3 really good TP skills. Courage through Immortal Spirit, the AoE resist buff with Magnetic Force, and Storm Guardian for all the resist and accuracy. Very few maps in this game will allow the AI to get 3 buffs off, so you're going to have to pick and choose. If you pick Paladin as a sub, you're probably doing that for access to the Immortal Spirit buff, or maybe some like crazy Taunting Blade quasi-tank where you try to like share aggro with Charlotte, or Runner in a 3 DPS group, which could be pretty dang explosive if you got those units. You also do get Sentinel in this, which is a very good manual PvE skill just for closing the gap. Giving yourself that big defense and spirit buff while you're getting in range of the enemy is very nice. And there you go. Okay, now Thief sub. I mentioned earlier that she does technically have a 100% hit attack. Very situational though. Sneak attack right here is a guaranteed hit when hitting from behind. So you will hit. If you run Thief sub and get behind a unit, you will hit them. Not only will you hit them, this is a 210% modifier with damage. It's her highest damage modifier move in the game, and it's a guaranteed crit from behind. The drawback is you gotta be behind them. Not only do you have to get to the unit you're attacking, you gotta circle around them and hit them from the back. This will be probably her highest damage single target move in the game. You just got to get into range. And if you're fighting a lot of evasion teams like Elena, Jade, and Locke, there's a lot of damage incoming right there. Very little of which is physical. So, there it is. Now, another great thing about Thief sub, though, is she has Steal Time. She's going to be a PvE goddess, you guys. Steal Time plus a single target resist debuff is really nice, and there's more to come. But this is a CT down with agility buff for herself, a core move in, perma-chaining a boss. You want to get to those like 15 to 20 hit chains, somebody's got to be stealing time usually. So she has access to that, which is pretty neat. And then her Limit Break. This will give her defense penetration and decrease slash resist of the target by 38%. I want to point out a couple things here. One, it is an AoE move that can also get to range 4. The 200% modifier, her AI will like to use this move over her main job skills because it will hit harder, again, in most situations, unless they have a barrier, etc. But the defense penetration buff goes onto her before this hits. The slash resistance debuff goes onto the target after it hits. That is important when you're thinking about PvE. Like, for example, a lot of people use Lock or limit breaks or moves that decrease slash resist and then hit to get a weakness a type tack in. And this is some high level stuff for like going for score, but do note that it applies her defense pin buff before it hits, then applies the slash resistant debuff after it hits. Still very good for PvE chaining and will be a very useful move in PvP. So that's her kit. There it is. There's a couple more things to talk about though. She's getting a sword. And ooh baby, is she ever getting a sword. This sword has 177 attack, 4 accuracies, kind of whatever, 8 crits pretty low, but really, lightning attack 30, awesome. So it has like Buster Sword levels of lightning attack on it. And then slash resistance penetration 30. All right, now we're talking, because this is going to make her very, very hard to tank. In theory, before we saw everything, A way you could think about tanking her would be, well, I'm going to stack slash resistance on a unit. This will negate 30% of that slash resistance, and remember, her limit break will further debuff slash resist after it does the damage. It is still going to make it hard to tank her if she's wearing this sword and drops a limit break on you. Her next attack, or whoever's next attack is coming at you, is going to have very little slash resist getting in the way. I do like this weapon. It is another lightning greatsword that is significantly different than the Buster Sword and gives us some cool options. You can pick this up from her bingo board. I like this weapon a lot. Now, the Vision card is also here, and I want to mention that even if you're skipping Easter Bunny Esther and you're a lightning player, I would pick this card up and build it as much as I could over this Global Fest run that we're getting right here. This is a very, very good card. Stat line is nice, HP's good, attack's good with some dexterity for a little bit of accuracy and a higher crit chance. If you're a lightning unit, you're going to get 30% attack right here. And if you're Esther, you're going to get an additional 10% HP and an additional 15% critical hit rate. So it's obviously very good for her. The party effect is really awesome. Slash resistance penetration 35. So it gives lightning access to more slash resistance penetration. Hey, you see the synergy between these two things? Because I sure do. A lot of slash resist pen between this and her sword. Also, HP up 13%, and then single target resist 20. Has good synergy with both her, because she can buff AoE resist, and good synergy with other Vision cards. You can now start stacking with lightning, AoE resist, and single target resist to just make your teams thicker, right? And we all love those thick units in War of the Visions. You know what I mean. Okay, this video is getting a little bit long, but that's the breakdown. That's Esther, that's her kit, that's what she does. So yeah, I'm gonna pull for her a little bit later today on stream once Baby J is put down for the night. Tune into that if you want to watch some polls. Then I'll probably move over to doing some Trials of Reckoning high score runs. So I hope to see you guys there. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.